G'day, folks. The More Coach here. Yes, AoS. And we're here talking about Ogre Mawtribes. There is no Battle Tome. Shock, shock. I feel like the last couple of videos that I put out have all just been Battle Tome, Battle Tome, Battle Tome. But now that the Battle Tomes have kind of paused for a little bit, there's a couple of people I wanted to have a conversation with off the back of Tacoma Open and some of the big events that we've had across the scene, and a man who needs no introduction giving us a gut-busting episode here whose performance is only rivaled by his appetite for victory. It is the true son of the Everwinter. It is Carson Whitlock. Carson has been on the channel for a while now. You've probably seen him if you are an Ogors fan or you've seen the channel before. And Carson went 5-0 at Tacoma. So it was a good opportunity to talk about soggy updates of the Scourge of Gairan, the new General's Handbook, what he's seen from like battle tactics and anything around obscuring and all of the things that we might want to talk about. I'm sure we'll have a lot more, and a bunch of people have submitted questions. Carson, g'day, welcome back. Say hello to the folks, to the people who may not know who you are, and let's talk Ogres.
Hello. Thanks for having me on again. I think for the third time. It's
Sure,
far too many
surely
times.
at least once edition, right? It's like I got a quota at least once in an edition.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. Yeah, no, but it's been going really well. I've been really enjoying like all of the new updates, not only just to Ogres, but the new GHB and stuff like that. So it's been a good time. How are you?
I'm well, actually. Last weekend, I had my own tournament as well. So got to play in an event just before I go into lockdown for my own GT. So I've got a 160 player tournament that is mine. So that was probably like my last event. I'll play some RTTs, but now the focus has got to shift. So I'm going to have to live vicariously through people like you. But how you finding the new First General's Handbook? Let's actually start. A good introduction is like, how have you found 4th edition? And we're now, 2-3 months into the new General's Handbook?
Yep.
How you finding it?
I like it a lot. I think that they had to make the First General's Handbook that kind of launched with 4th edition super simple, because there's a whole bunch of stuff to digest with the abilities and all of the different like changes to kind of like they couldn't introduce too much complexity at once, otherwise it might throw people off. And so it really feels like this GHB is 4th edition or like 4.5. Like it's a whole new edition in and of itself. So it's been a lot of fun in that regard. And I think that a lot of the lists that are coming out are like way more interesting to me and way more reminiscent of the end of 3rd edition. I'm obviously having a lot of fun because I'm like 3 tournaments in and 15-0 so far, which is kind of unheard of, but yeah, having a good time.
So what tournaments have you done so far? You've done Tacoma, where you went 5-0.
Yep.
What are the other ones?
I did Battered Bison, which is in Winnipeg. It's just about 50 people. Also went 5-0 there. And then I just did a smaller local one. It was 24 people called Richmond Reroll, and went 5-0 there as well. So yeah,
probably a dumb question, but all Ogres.
All Ogres, yeah. All pretty much the exact same list too. Like I've changed the manifestation more a little bit, but it's effectively the same list. So yeah.
So you want to say something about events before I rudely cut you off with the lag of I guess halfway around the world?
Yeah. I don't remember. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, I've been having a good time though. Like sorry. I think what I was going to say was I feel like I'm being like this GHB is like exactly the type of play style that I really like to have. And it feels like a lot of other people are still kind of catching up from the last GHB, which was just like tons of spam, like really like simple, just like move forward, punch people, super efficient units, that type of stuff. So I feel very comfortable like immediately, which I think is a little bit of a leg up. So that's a lot.
Look, and you know what? You'll probably have a shower tonight. You'll be rubbing yourself, and they're like, "Oh, actually, that was the thing I was going to say." So yeah, I'm sure you'll at least that kind of got weird a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
me call. Yeah. We'll just start talking about me in the shower. This is going to be my HR complaint to GW. Yeah.
I work for GW. I don't care. Tell them.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know what to do with this information, but sure, yeah.
GW's like, yeah, he's just a weird Australian. Don't worry about him. He's upside down.
Yeah, he does that too. Yeah.
But like what you were just saying about General's Handbook, I agree actually. I didn't enjoy the first season that much because obviously we had manifestations going wild and it was just getting ridiculous at some points. And some of them, especially, like Purple Sun and like there's just rules, even like Gravetide and bloody Bridge. And there was just so much stupidity. Then it kind of settled for a little bit. I had to adapt a little bit. I'm a little bit sad still. I lost my prize beast, still lost our what was the infantry one again? Like field sergeant. Field sergeant. Yeah. We kind of lost that in infantry, and then we obviously had soggy updates, and I do want to talk to you about soggy updates in general, like what you've kind of seen across the board, and then also what you're doing. And I will bring up Carson's list. Don't worry about that. But I must admit, I am enjoying it, and I'm feeling that dynamic nature that third edition had a little bit more. And I remember going through the battle tactics, and it's just different, right? Like there's this weird sense of freedom where in turn one, I don't have to score a battle tactic, or if I try to do a battle tactic and I fail, the pressure isn't there that, oh no, now I can only score 4 out of 5. And I've still got opportunities to catch up and I can still score. And if things don't go my way, there's still ways to swing the game back. I don't know what you found or what your thoughts are, but let's unpack the General's Handbook a little bit more. Like, what are you feeling and why are you finding it more dynamic and you're enjoying it more?
Yeah, I kind of feel the exact same way about what you're saying where, oh no, I only scored 4 out of 5 tactics. Like previously, if you didn't score 5 tactics in like a tournament game, it was either like you're probably going to lose or you doubled somebody, which is kind of a bad feeling. Like you don't, it feels weird to have to go on like these little side quests every turn. And that's, I think the thing I value the most about the current GHP is that you can literally take a turn to do absolutely nothing and it messes with your opponent a lot. Just because they're like, he didn't do anything. That means I have to do something. And then they maybe overcommit, or maybe you're just applying pressure in a different way. Like you can go the first entire 2 battle rounds, not scoring any tactics, and you're fine. Like you can still max score. So yeah, that kind of creates like, it allows you to be more strategic. I can't speak, the entire game instead of just like, oh, I have to set up for take the flanks next turn, or I have to make sure that I have a army list that can do seize the center or something like that. Like it feels good to be free of that for sure. And it also feels good to be free of having to score every possible battle tactic, because I think that a regular amount to score now is like 4. Like you don't have to score 6 in order to stay in the game. So
yeah, it's interesting because I remember very early on in Discord, people are like, I can't score 6. I'm like, guys, it's not about scoring 6. In fact, some of the things that you've got to do to start the card often can contradict what happens in the middle or at the end of the card. So scoring 6, while that is ultimately the goal, going 4 is usually enough to kind of get you to like, I think. So the tournament that I just come back from, I was playing my Daughters of Cain, and I would say probably on average I was scoring about 4. Sometimes I'd score 6, sometimes I'd score 5, but I was averaging at least 4, and that was enough for me to get into the podium and come third. And there were some times where, and like, it's an interesting one because one of my battle tactics requires me to be the underdog, and I'm like, why do I keep picking this goddamn card? Because often enough, I find myself not under underdog unless someone doubles me. Then that card becomes unlocked really easily. But I'm like, the way that you build your list has fundamentally changed. I will take 4 units of Canary, or if I'm running Stormcast Eternals, a bunch of Doggos, or I'd take certain units like I love Shadow Stalkers in my Daughters of Cain because I can teleport around the board. So anyone who picks Intercept and Recover, I can just sacrifice 3 units, keep them out of the game, or just teleport them away, make it really hard to score. that particular card, and I am finding a lot more complexity in the interplay of the game. How are you finding battle tactics and the interaction between you and, I guess, your opponent?
I like it quite a bit. I like that you don't have like 8 different battle tactics or whatever it was that you have to think of that your opponent could possibly do at any given time. And now it's just there's these two. You know exactly the 2 possible things that your opponent is aiming to do, and it's way easier from like a counterplay perspective. It's also easier to think about your future turns a lot more too. And I think that there's like a 5 to 10 minute period at the beginning of any turn where someone was like, what do I do for a battle tactic? Unless it's just instant. And it ends up saving a lot of time. Like most of my tournament games have been finishing well on time. Whereas in the past, I think it was easy to have analysis paralysis just because of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? If you fail it, it's not completely lost to you. You can still try to score it again if the conditions are still available.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of them you can bank too, which is nice. Like intercept and recover in the first stage and master the path. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very true. That's very, very true. By the way, I think I've enjoyed 4th edition even more now that Goonhammer's app is updated with the scoring mechanics. I'm like, I used to back to the ye old days of paper and notepad writing down, trying to work out what I've done. App is golden, guys. Thank you. As soon as we can link it back to BCP, I'll be so happy. So happy. But Ogors, oh, by the way, I want to ask you one more question. It's kind of a loaded question because I've got a story to share. Sorry, okay. Nick. Sorry, Nick. You know the story if you're watching. Sorry. Yeah, I agree, dog. Priority roll. The higher drops, and I'm seeing some people play now to taking higher drops, maybe not kind of completely striving to go for 5, but certainly the pressure to be 1 or 2 drops has certainly been reduced in some of the army builds. And then obviously the priority reroll, should you have higher drops coming into play and sometimes being clutch to wrestle that priority off your opponent. How have you found it, Carson? And has it been impactful in any of your games for you or your opponent?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think it necessarily will cause someone to be like, I want to be max drops versus I want to be something like that. But I think that it gives you enough of a like shove in the direction of not caring about drops as much that people are starting to explore lists that, maybe they'll bring a hero that it's okay if it costs them an extra drop because they get this piece of utility or something like that. And then you have some armies that are just naturally 5 drops where, getting the reroll is kind of your identity now. Like I think Cities of Sigmar, and I think that's the biggest one that I can think of that's at the top of the meta right now. That's got like 5 drops consistently, but yeah.
Yeah, looking at the current Warhammer win rates right now, Khorne, Daughters can do it. There's been times where I've been running like little infantry heroes like a Hag Queen or the High Gladiatrix where like for example the High Gladiatrix could be a sub commander in a regiment. Now I can unlock that and go from 3 to 4 very easily. Cities, Khorne, KO, Nighthaunt, Lumineth, they're kind of like the leading when it comes to the win rates.
Yeah. So any control army too, like I could see Tzeentch wanting to go that way too if they really wanted to bring a couple of the soggy thaumaturges and just kind of have a little bit of control there, which is nice. But yeah, so I think it's a really good spot right now where it's not like an auto take in one direction or the other. So you don't have people trying to force like a 1 or 2 drop, and you also don't have people trying to force like as many as they possibly can. So yeah.
No, it's definitely more liberating. And the story I was going to share, just to not forget that. So my last game at the tournament that I just played, I played up against a lovely gentleman by the name of Nick, ran Fire Slayers, had like 5 of the Magma Droths, 3 of them for the Soggy Rune Suns on Magmas. So like 5 Magmas. Anyway, we've gone into battle round 3. I'm controlling the terms of the priority roll. I roll a 1. He rolls a 1. He's 5 drops. He re-rolls it into a 1. And then bonus points, he then try to do you try to cast and roll a 1 or a double 1? So it's just like statistically rolling 4 1s in a row with something like 1,290 something. So my heart felt for the guy, but I have found it being very, very valuable. Although sometimes when I do want to re-roll that priority roll, getting my opponent rolls a 6, I'm like, I'm not going to bother with this, you jerk. But it's been clutch. Like, it's been really helpful. But you're right, not playing for it. Not like I'm going to purposely build my list to be 5 drops because I want the priority. But it's bloody nice to have if you got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're an army that really likes to go first anyway, then it's even better. Like, you can just kind of set up your little castle. Maybe you can even do the thing where you beat your opponent and force them to double you, and then you get a reroll to get a double, which is really dirty. But yeah, it's cool. I like it. I think it's in a good spot.
Yeah, refer to Soggy, and we will talk about your list maybe after Soggy, because you do have a Soggy unit. I won't spoil Christmas for the folks, but how have you found the Scourge of Gairan updates overall? Not just necessarily for Ogres, we'll talk Ogres, but how have you found it? Are you finding opponents are running them in their lists? Are you finding some more popular than others? What are you finding?
Yeah, I'm finding that it's kind of unlocking different parts of certain armies. It's like a second chance for a lot of units that were kind of forgotten in the past. I mean, to use Ogres as an example, like a lot of people are bringing that Iron Blaster, which previously it kind of died at the start of 4th. So that's really nice to see. Almost every list that I play against has some Soggy War Scroll in it of some kind, like Cities of Sigmar, Nighthaunt, Daughters of Cain, like all of them want to use it. And they're all at the top of the meta right now, I would say. Yeah, like overall, it's been really positive. And I think that sometimes it ends up being that like you unlock the like most competitive playstyle for an army, but sometimes it ends up being that you just unlock like a different avenue of playstyles, which I always appreciate. Because you never know exactly what you should expect when you go into a matchup based on just the army. So
yeah, other than Cities, I've really enjoyed the Soggy update. Yes, Cities, I do not enjoy your update, you jerks.
yeah,
bloody Pontifex, all your rubbish. Look, yeah. Cities aside, look, I was just looking over my opponents, right? I played a gentleman by the name of Joel. I got to play into the new Rodicus, which was really cool. In the past, one of my opponents was a Skaven player. They had the Brutera?
Yep.
They had the new Brutera. Yeah, they had the new Brutera. And I played into other Skaven having the new Bell. Oh my gosh, the new Bell. So good. That
Incredible.
consistency. Yeah, love that new Bell. I played a Seraphon guy, and I don't think Fabio had. I don't think because he didn't have Carnosaur. No, I didn't have that. My Fire Slayer's opponent having 3 of those rune suns on magmas, and having the ability to do the extra mortals on the volcanic blood. Especially for an army like mine, my witch elves with like 3 attacks each, and the sheer volume of ones that could come out doing D3, like so much damage from the splashback. So good. And I'm running like Cruthusa, I'm running the Blood Shrine, I'm using the new Prayer Law, I'm using a new battle formation. I'm really enjoying some of these updates.
Yeah, me too. I like that a lot of them they've almost had redundancy or rather like anti-spam written into them, so that it's a lot of like once per turn army-wide effects. It's a lot of like war scrolls that you can't necessarily take 2 of. So it's just like, here's another tool that every army gets, instead of here's the new version of spam that everyone's going to use. So yeah, I like it a lot.
No, I dig it. And you are obviously running the Iron Blaster. We'll talk about that. But before we get into your list, I will ask Tomo's question. And Ogres, by the way, you're doing a healthy 54% of the meta as per the latest Warhammer stats. So you are top middle. So, like, you're definitely not at the top, but when you look at the win percentages, you're doing very, very well. And I'd love to maybe learn in the near future why you think Ogres are doing well and why, you're going 5-0. But Gareth's saying, should the next Ogres books go back to its roots? And do you think you should have something like a +1 to hit for twirling your mustache?
I do. Objectively, I think it's the correct thing to have in a book. Not biased whatsoever. And you know that I'm not biased because I said it. And that's the only reason why. Yeah. Let's do it. Maybe another one if I'm bald. Overweight too. That'd be good. Yeah.
Oh, I was recording. I'm gonna finish editing my 10-year retrospective, but there's some crack rules. I gotta bring up the greasiest gold tooth rules, but like old Sigvold, if you like saw yourself in a mirror or your reflection, you would get a thing. If you like the Medusae, like the daughters that came Medusae, if you just stare at your opponent and they blink or something, you get a free thing. And like the mask, if you do a dance, you get a thing, and if they dance with you, you get an extra thing. I'm like, what on earth were you thinking about, guys? But all right, before I bring up the list, I've teased you enough. I do have probably a relevant question, I think, maybe before we show the list. And BS Singo asking, what is your approach to list building, and how important is list building going to do 5-0 at a tournament? And this is probably really good, given we've talked a lot about the changes of fourth, a lot of changes about the GHB. Before we show you the list, what is your theory? What is what's important to you as a list building and Ogres?
Yeah. I mean, I could talk for hours on just this topic, I feel like, but I think the number one important thing when it comes to building a list is, even if the army that you play is relatively like quote unquote honest, it's extremely important that your opponent is constantly thinking about things or having to make decisions. And to use an example, like, we had some of the new soggy battle formations in Ogres, which some of it's a little bit of extra movement, some of it's recursion. The go-to Foot Ogres subfaction used to be just +1 to cast, and there's no mental load whatsoever on your opponent when it comes to having +1 to cast. They're just like, I'm going to unbind it, or try to unbind it in the exact same way I normally would, versus if you give them a different avenue of thinking about what you're doing, then that opens up the potential for them to make a mistake. And that's kind of how I like to build lists, is just, here's a whole bunch of things, like I want to apply pressure in this way, I want to be able to do this sort of positioning, and by having those sort of considerations, it makes it way harder for your opponent to decide like what the correct thing to do is, versus if you just have a pure wall of meat with no shooting, no screens, no nothing like that, then your opponent's like, okay, I'm just going to stay far away from you and not do anything, or I'm just going to alpha strike you, or like it's a way more binary decision. So that's probably like the number one thing that I consider when building a list, is making sure that you're giving your opponent something to think about.
Yeah. Any other bonuses for them? Because I really like that. And one of the benefits, I was talking to somebody, I was talking to Fabio, the Seraphon player, my second last opponent, and he had a really interesting list. He had run a Slan Priest, he ran a unit of reinforced Agrodons, he had 2 units of reinforced, what are they bloody, the skinks on the hunters, the javelin
Raptidons?
idiots, Raptidons, yeah. He had a whole bunch of he even had pterodons. I'm like, I have not seen a pterodon since 2nd edition. And I'm like, why don't you think about a Carnosaur? Like, obviously you got the new soggy Carnosaur. And we were having a real conversation about the fact that when you see one of these meta lists, one of these 5-0 lists, one that are very obvious to you, either seen it being run for a while or it's very obvious what it's trying to do, it's easy to build a play style against them. But when you go into a battle where, not that there's like gotchas, but it's like, I don't really understand what your list does. It's not as obvious to me. I don't know what thing I should prioritize. And, do I go for the thing? And like, actually, like, for example, they look at my Daughters of Cain and go, what the hell? I've got Witch Elves, I've got Sister of Slaughter, I've got these 4 Canaries, I've got all these things. Like, how do I beat this? And it's not, again, I'm hiding rules, but it's like you've created a really interesting challenge that then you can capitalize with your decisions, your play style, and they're kind of learning on the fall. Dog agrees with me. Thanks, Dog. Yeah. All right. I assume Carson's dog's still barking. All right.
Nope, we're good. Yeah.
Are you good? Yeah. All right. Bonus piece for the list building. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Utility, interesting ideas, have something that is good to play, not as obvious, have some tricks, have some ways to play in different phases. Any other bonus things for list building? Then I'm bringing it up.
Just make sure that I like to make sure that my army never is like entirely reliant on one phase of the game. So if you just want to punch your opponent really hard, like there's way more counterplay to that than if you have a little bit of shooting and some melee and some speed and some, charge phase stuff. So yeah, trying to mix it up a little bit is good. Not leaning into like any sort of skew. For singles GTs specifically, for teams, it's completely different.
Yeah, sure. Teams, you can be a bit more wild. So this is Carson's Tacoma list. This went 5-0 recently. It is a more path menaces, which is one of the new battle formations in Soggy updates. You have picked Restless Energy and Master the Paths. You got obviously your spell law being the more magic. You've gone Aether Rorts as your manifestation law and your Everwinter prayers as your prayers. It is 3 drops. You've got your general is a slaughter master with a unit of Noblars. You've then got a butcher who is a mage swallower and your gruesome trophies, also with more Noblars and a Gorger Morpack. You then have your blood pelt hunter, which is touched by the Everwinter. You've got a unit of Iron Guts reinforced, a unit of Gluttons reinforced, and then one that I'm excited to talk about, which is not the Scrap Launcher. I'm disappointed in you, I will admit. I thought you'd go Soggy Scrap Launcher, but I guess second best unit in your book is the Scourge of Gairan Iron Blaster. I say that with jest, guys. I know how good Iron Guts is. Don't at me at the bloody comment section. And you've gone the Maw Pit over the Maw Pot. So talk to me about how you bring, I guess, some of that list building to life and why you do the thing and how it's playing out in the General's Handbook. Like, what's it do? How does it work? Talk to me.
Yeah, so I think the first thing you do is you focus on the identity of your army, which for Ogres, you have like massive speed and incredibly high damage potential. And so sort of to build your core of the army, I think you need like a couple blocks of the things that do those things the best. So Iron Guts and the Gluttons, both extremely fast, both extremely punchy. The reason why I do like 1 Iron Gut and 1 Glutton is because in the previous GHB, you could have charge +1 rend into like some specific thing, which would mean you could have rend 2 Gluttons. But now that you don't have access to that, it's important to have rend 2 in the list still to still have like some semblance of armor cracking. And then in order to like unlock the speed, you need a Butcher. So that's those 3 units. And then another core thing about Ogres is that they're kind of paper thin and you don't really get any form of tankiness from like, or significant tankiness from debuffs or anything like that. So instead you have Noblars, like screens. So just a speed bump for your opponent to deal with instead of, just more Ogres or something like that. So then that's when you bring in the Noblars. A second Slaughtermaster, just because you have to have a second regiment to carry all your units in, because he's a really good buff piece and he sits in the Maw Pit really well. The Gorger Maw Pack is there just because for every turn that they're in Deep Strike and not actually on the board, it's just something your opponent has to think about the entire time that they're positioning their army. Because if they have like a static piece of terrain, or maybe they put like the Soul Scream Bridge down or anything that you can kind of catapult charge off of, now they have to have something to Deep Strike, screen you, or prevent you from getting like Restless Energy by just dropping on a point in their backfield or something like that. So that's why they're in the list. And then the Iron Blaster is kind of like the new like zhuzh of the list, essentially, where it's just punching holes in someone's screens just before you charge in, or it's actually most of the time it's just applying pressure from a distance, saying like, hey, you have to come over here, because Ogres really likes to counterpunch as opposed to like running across the table and deleting your opponent's army. So that's kind of just the startup. So basically it's just like you have your big core hammers, and then you have things that try to convince your opponent that they need to come deal with you. So your Noblars is just 20 bodies that are going to sit on a point. They have to go charge into them. Your Gorgers, it's like a huge positioning tax on your opponent's mind, and then the Iron Blaster is like directly applying damage at range. And then the Blood Pelt Hunter is the weird one. He has this thing where if he's outside of 9 inches of enemy units in the enemy movement phase, he can just move. And then in addition to that, he can redeploy. And then in addition to that, he can use Mod Path Menaces to move again. So you could be moving like 18 inches in your opponent's turn. And he's OC 5, so he can just steal an objective that your opponent wasn't considering that you were going to steal. So he's another way of just applying pressure and forcing your opponent to like move in different ways. And he's an excellent deep strike screen because someone pops in just outside of 9 and you just walk away. So it's a really, really nice little backfield screener there. So that's kind of how I went about building this list. It's just like there's some massive hammers. There's things to convince you to come closer to the massive hammers. And just a couple of tricks and some general pieces of utility like Mage Swallower, Anti-Ward Tech, Gruesome Trophies. You know, if you're going against like Sons of Behemoth who are going to be maybe shutting off your commands, you want to still have +1 to hit into them. And then the Blood Pelt Hunter with Touch by the Everwinter can juice himself up with ritual points and just kind of like move in your opponent's turn to like the center of their castle and then drop a bomb of like Pulverizing Hailstorm and then just run away. So it's just like a lot of little tricks for your opponent to think about.
Yeah, I dig it. If you were to tell me a 5-0 list for Ogres, certainly you would think about some of these features, but I love the utility and the tricks. You haven't gone just all in on whether it's Stonehorns or Beast Riders. You haven't just gone all in on like how many Gluttons I can put into a list or Iron Guts into your list if you want the big wall of meat, or if you, by the way, Iron Guts. I've got to show some mad respect to Iron Guts because even like I remember fighting a unit recently where they were down to like 4 or 3 in the unit, and they still slap incredibly hard for a unit that was under half its strength. So very, very powerful unit. And obviously a reinforced unit is 1/4 of your army.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, like you said, this there's very little repetition in this list. Like the only repeated war scroll is Noblars. Otherwise, it's basically a Highlander list. So everything's kind of doing its own job or has a specific purpose, which is kind of how I like to play. It can be really mentally taxing for you too. But since Ogres is like a relatively simple army, it puts more of the onus on your opponent to be thinking about things than it does you most of the time.
I got a couple of burning questions, and then I got some from Discord, if you're cool.
Sure.
I first want to talk about your battle formation, the More Path Menaces, and it's an interesting little feature. There's obviously 2 of them, right? You've also got the Greedy Eaters as 2 options, and we can bring up the rules and talk a little bit about more. But what have you found between going for? I don't know if you would have run this just under the pure index, what you would have put it under, but what's the value? And I guess bonus from Discord is what are some of the best tricks that you can use from the More Path Menaces?
So there's kind of 2 things you can do. Number 1 is previously you had the Noblars like they were a speed bump, and if your opponent was threatening a double, there's a chance that they just go hit the speed bump and then say, if I get the double, I win the game, because they can just punch you behind the screen after that. But now what you can do is you can set up your screen with like a unit of Iron Guts or Gluttons or something 6 inches behind them, 6 inches behind the front of them, rather. And then that way you say, if someone charges into your screen on a 3-up, you're going to put just like 1 toe of a model within 3 inches of their unit, but that's it. So they have the surface area of like 1 model exactly 3 inches behind your screen. And then they have to punch your screen first, and then you walk forward and hit them full force. So it's just like my hammer gets to hit yours at full strength and yours hits mine with like 1 or 2 models or something like that. So it kind of puts like, and it's pretty significant too. It's like 2/3 chance that you're going to lose your hammer in your own turn is like a huge gamble for your opponent to have to make. So that's number 1. Number 2 is if your opponent is deciding, I don't want to engage that whatsoever, I'm going to stay super far away. There's nothing stopping you from doing a redeploy and Maw Path Menaces in the same turn. So you effectively get like a 2d6 move in your opponent's turn towards them, which is really nice. So you might be, if your opponent's staying like 24 inches away saying, hey, I know your max move is 14, so you're going to be a 10-inch charge regardless. And then you move like 7 inches in their turn, and all of a sudden, maybe you can be 3 inches away instead. And it's just, really difficult for your opponent to deal with. And it allows you to kind of ball up a little bit more so that if they charge one thing, it's really likely that you essentially get a free counter charge into them. So yeah, that's why I like to run it. It's just like, it's tons of mental load and lots of movement shenanigans. So
yeah, I dig it. It's a really cool rule, even if you were just using as an alternative to counter charge, whether it is, reducing your CP load or giving you a second unit. Obviously, you can't counter charge and use this ability on the same unit, but having two options, or even just not having to, because there's plenty of times where I want to counter charge, but I'm like, do I want to spend the 2 CP out of my 4 unless I'm underdog? Great ability, and I love what you just talked about. Obviously, the list tech side, but also the tech on the battlefield. But even what you just said around how you've got the partnership between like your Noblars and whether it's your Iron Guts or your Gluttons or something, being able to use the combat zone to protect those hammers and then get the full potential, because it doesn't say that you have to end the charge within half an inch. It just says you get to move. You roll a dice, not a D3, a D6. On a 3 up, you move that many inches, and then you can move into combat ranges. And if you end the move in combat, which would be 3 inches, then you have charged. So, as you said, put your toe in, because that opponent is blocked from piling in because you've got the Noblar screen. Love that. Absolutely love that.
Yeah. And you don't have to go towards your opponent either. Like, your opponent could hit your screen with like 3 different units, assuming that they're going to kill the Noblars, and then step forward and hit whatever hammer you have behind. And you could just roll that 3 up and just leave. And it's just like, sorry, like you can't do what you were planning on doing. Or sometimes I've done things like, there's nothing I really have that's super valuable, so I'll just like move the butcher to within buff range of gruesome trophies of another unit that gets charged or something like that. That's pretty far away. So there's tons of little things that you can do. Sometimes you use it to take an objective that your opponent wasn't expecting. Like any out of phase movement is extremely valuable. So
yeah, I've been using the Daughters of Cain prayer law that lets me move 6 inches, and given that's also unlimited, the amount of things that you can do, it's so good. Moving out of sequence, and yeah, I'm like, it's helped me get off counter charges. It's helped me reposition into particular buffs or debuff ranges. It's set me up for upcoming turns. It's so good.
Yeah.
Speaking of also so good, Iron Blaster. I'm so glad to see it back after Tom Guan abused it with Noblars back at the end of second, or was it a third, or was it a third edition abuse? I remember nothing but like 4 Iron Blasters, a bunch of Noblars, did incredible damage because of the charge mortals that you used to get when you had little bombs and traps, and Iron Blasters had their time in the sun. Kind of went away for a little bit. I don't think I saw many of them after that. What's changed in the Iron Blaster? And I'll also say that as well, because we heard a lot of chat about obscuring and people claiming potentially shooting is dead. And why would I invest into shooting? What have you found? Why do we like the Iron Blaster? And what would you say to those people who are thinking that shooting is dead or heavily neutered?
I don't think shooting's dead. I think shooting has been brought down to being a tool, or like a useful tool, because having the presence of strong shooting means that your opponent has to position in a different way. And so that basically means they have to hug obscuring or just take the shooting. And most of the time, if they're hugging obscuring, they're not. You can rarely screen and be obscured at the same time. And so if you're not screening, then one of these giant hammers is going to come and punch your face in, right? Like, so it's basically just threatening like constant. On average, it can easily do like 10 damage to something that's on a 4-up save. So Usually that's half of a screen, or sometimes that's an entire screen, depending on what the unit is. And then you kind of punch through that and charge behind it. So like that's your answer to Daughters of Cain, for instance, if they have a bunch of Sisters of Slaughter sitting in front of their castle that's got like no commands and -1 to hit and wound and a billion other different things. You shoot as many of them off the table as you can with your Iron Blaster. And then based on that, you can kind of charge behind them or use them as a charge catapult. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love this new Iron Blaster. The fact that you've got, 2 attacks, hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, Ren 2 for 5 damage, 18 inches, has a base move of 9, and then that once per turn, +1 attack and crit 2 hits. So,
Yeah.
Obviously, if you take 2, you have to choose between 2 options. But even just having 1 has a lot of, and 170 points, like that's good value. That's really good value to keep somebody honest, even if it's sitting on the backfield protecting an objective. It's no slouch in combat either. So if you do deep strike into the backfield, it probably holds its own, and it's got anti-charge as well, right? So it's just good.
Yeah, it's just a really solid unit. It's way faster than a lot of people think. Just going 9 inches is great, and then if it decides to run for some reason, then it can be going minimum 12, because it's d6 +2 +9. So yeah, it's just a really solid unit. It's it has to be respected, and even if it's doing nothing, it's kind of like the Gorgers, where as long as you're threatening it, your opponent has to position it in a different way, and you can kind of bully your opponent into doing things that they might otherwise not want to do. So that's why it's valuable.
And it's not hard to pull. So it's not easy to pull down. 9 health, 4 up save that you could all add a defense onto. Because a lot of those things that can deep strike into the backfield are not the biggest damage dealers. Yes, there are some options that will come out and can, Annihilators as an example, but it is a hard thing to crack. I guess the only benefit is that it doesn't have shooting combat. So if you can tie it up, you can at least stop those shooting attacks. But it is a good unit. It is a very good unit.
Yeah, absolutely. I suspect that it could be one of the things that could go up in points, but the thing is that because they limited it to you essentially can only take 1, it's kind of just like a utility piece that your army gets, where it might mess up the points in too many other different ways. So I can also see them not changing it. But yeah, it's very good. Like telling your opponent it can do somewhere between 0 and 30 damage is like, okay, what do I do with this information? Like it's
It's like playing Squigs. Like people like, what can you charge? I'm like, I can charge 4. I can move 4. I can move 1,000,000. Like I don't know. You and I both are going to find out together when I roll these dice.
Exactly. We're going to have fun.
Yeah. We're going to have fun, but like, I've got no idea. Do you feel the same way about the current Iron Blaster, not the soggy Iron Blaster? Because I'm just revisiting the rules, and it's fine. Like, it's still got some decent rules, but there's a couple of things in SOG that makes it just well worth picking up. Yeah.
Yeah, the current Iron Blaster used to have like it just doesn't quite get there, I think. For some reason it's more points than the SOG one.
It's 10 more points. How did that work?
It's a little weird. It has like a close range shooting profile too, but it's it's only 8 shots at damage 2, and they're 4s and 3s. It's like it's a little like it's just not I don't know, even in melee it's not as good. It's kind of weird. It just feels like the soggy Iron Blaster is like them giving the regular Iron Blaster a second chance. Just be like, maybe we didn't quite write this how it should have been written. Like here's our rewrite, essentially. So I almost see it that way as opposed to 2 different options. So
yeah, I do get the feeling that maybe some of these will carry over into a battle tome. Maybe it might not be till 5th edition, given how long it takes to write a battle tome. But like, I love that they're testing new ways to. I think most soggies were really good, with the exception of Soulblight. If I remember correctly, they were not very impressive. It was at the Corpse Cart and something else. I forgot what it was.
That's kind of okay too. Like it's Flesh Eater Quartz, but
yeah, I mean they just got a new battle tome. But like for the vast majority of people, it's been good. A few of them are a little bit too good, but for the vast majority, they've been solid.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm going to ask you a couple more questions from Discord if you're cool, because I want to talk a bit more about stuff that made no sense.
Let's talk about stuff.
Let's talk about these questions and then stuff. Gilbo saying, where do you place the pit, and what are the decisions you go through when placing it?
Where do I play it? Oh, like physically on the table.
Yeah. I mean, like you could put it in your backpack or like in a suitcase, or
actually, it's really hard to transport. Like I made a weird little Amazon box thing that I usually put in my personal items when I fly with it. It's kind of weird. Not easy to transport. But like wherever I place it on the actual tabletop during a game is usually just whatever is like most annoying for your opponent. So kind of like I was saying, you just want to be applying pressure as much as you can and convincing your opponent to come to you. If you place your pit in the center of the table, like as much as you possibly can, if it's like a middle to middle deployment sort of thing, even if your opponent charges it and kills it turn 1, then now you have an opponent unit that's like right there that you can kind of go eat. And if they don't deal with it, then it's just a massive like 36-inch or even more than 36-inch bubble of like tons of mortal wounds every single turn. So just forcing it, or like forcing action from your opponent is generally good. Like on Noxious Nexus, you can cover like the first 2 points entirely with it still being in your territory, and it just kind of demands an answer from your opponent. So even like I've heard a lot of people say I can't place it too far up, otherwise my opponent like shoots it or charges it or something, and I'm like, great. Like if they're spending time shooting or charging that, then they're not charging the stuff that actually matters in your army, right? It's one shooting phase that you're not losing a couple gluttons or iron guts or your screen or something like that. So yeah,
because it's a nice to have. Like by losing the more pit, it's not like your world crumbles. Like it's critical. Like your Gloomspite gets where you got your recursion coming off the back of the terrain feature, and if somebody charges you, as you said, you've made it easy to charge you back, or that damage is being reallocated away from your Iron Guts, your Butcher, your various troops, into something that is dispensable. Like it's actually not a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's 10 wins on a 5-up, which is 2.5 ogres, and I'd rather have 2.5 ogres than the Maw Pit, or rather, like I'd rather have 2.5 ogres for one more turn than having the Maw Pit. So yeah, it's just make it annoying.
And if they ignore it, then you're getting stuff as well. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not the more pot? I guess is probably like for the people who are on the pot side, is like, what do I get for the pit that I don't get from the pot? And I know they're two different terrain features, but like, why this decision?
Yeah, the Maw Pot, you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot with it a little bit because the Maw Pit can be garrisoned so that it's just a big 9-inch bubble of your opponent can't deep strike near you. But the Maw Pot can't be garrisoned. You kind of have to babysit it in order to get value out of it. And because your army is highly mobile, you're probably just going to leave it anyway. And then if your opponent has any teleports or deep strike or anything like that, they can kind of use it against you and you're not really getting any benefit out of it. So instead of being like a huge annoyance for your opponent, it's like a 1 or 2 time buff for you. And then that's about it. So just not as valuable, I think.
It's always been the challenge with the more pot is that you get a really good buff in the first turn or two, but as you move forward and you move out of their range, it's you almost lose the benefit in most situations. It's something that's plagued this faction since like the dawn of time. It's like, what do you do differently, right? And I'd be curious to talk to you about like what you think's coming into Battle Tome. Somebody has a cracking question I will ask you when we get to that point, but I'll hold it for now. Gilbo asking, how far close / far do you run your Butcher or Slaughtermaster in a Gutbusters list? Does it change if one of them has the Fang of Gur or the gruesome trophies?
Yeah, Slaughtermaster is usually kind of on pit duty, so he's locked there most of the time. And then the Butcher, wants to be like almost in the action, but not in the action. Mostly because of Mage Swallower, it's a 6-inch aura, and if your opponent has any wards, like you ideally actually want to be in combat with them, just so you can project it as far as possible, but you definitely want to have them up close. So your Butcher is pretty much babysitting one of your hammers or sitting in between them, and then like runs up with them, and then the Slaughtermaster usually stays back quite a bit. So
and the Mage Swallower, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is one of the new big names that came with Scourge of Gairan. So you put it on an Ogre's hero, which I really like. I really like them. Got Gut Slugger, Mage Swallower, and then Mega Gobbler. I really like them, actually.
Yeah, they're cool. I think that if you're running I think one of the main issues is what is it? The one that adds to your attacks. Yeah, it's it doesn't affect companion weapons. So it's like most of the time, if you have like a combat hero, it's probably like a Frostlord on Stonehorn or a Huskard or something, and most of the damage is coming from the mount itself. So it's a little tough.
Like, it's nice, but it's definitely not as impactful. Obviously, -1 to your ward rolls for enemy units within 6 is just so good. Whether it is bringing Nurgle or New Nighthaunt from 5s to 6s, whether it is being able to reduce like the death runs from 6s to nothing, or even almost countering that battle plan that gives you +1 to your ward save. So good. Love it.
Yeah, and having access to that means that you don't necessarily have to take Fang of Gur anymore. And because you don't have to take Fang, that's the ward shut off once per game in combat. And so because you don't have to take that, you can now take Gruesome Trophies, which is like, you're just covering more possible matchups. So like I said, having +1 to hit against Gargants as an army is incredible, right? Yeah. Or like Daughters of Cain, for instance, if you're going to be, I keep bringing up Coach's army, but
stop bringing up my factions. Let's go New Nighthaunt. Let's go New Nighthaunt.
Yeah, exactly. Having, I guess, +1 to hit against Lady Olander wouldn't matter because it's unmodified 5s and 5s only anyway. But it's just nice. Like, it's, let's say with Iron Guts, you kill something with an all-out attack, and then you step forward into your opponent's heroes. It's nice to still have +1 to hit after you do it, right? So or being able to overcome a -1 to hit with +2 to hit is really good too. And it's just more, you're not leaning into shutting off a ward, and then if you show up to a matchup where they have no wards, it's like, well, I have a useless artifact. Mage Swallower feels like way less of a like a commitment, I guess. So yeah.
Another question that came up was around spells, and I thought I'd just jump the slide with the spells. It might make a bit more sense. What were the spells that you're getting off in the first 2 turns, and are you using command points to cast a manifestation, or is it better to bank priest prayers with a CP? All right, so we're talking spells and prayers. That was one big question.
So to answer them separately, spells, if I'm going first and your opponent's like not in range, so Greasy Deluge is not possible. I like to defensively cast a Blood Feast, so +1 attacks, and then if you have Iron Guts or Gluttons on +1 attacks, it's like, try it. Like, you want to come over here? Like, even if half the unit dies, it's still a ton of attacks coming into you, like you were saying before. So,
no, thank you. No,
yeah, it's a really good deterrent. And then, rather than focusing on Troggoth Guts or Greasy Deluge, I usually try to put out a Pendulum too. And instead of pointing it forward at your opponent, I like to draw a line of scrimmage and kind of like put it sideways, 6 inches in front of my front line or something like that, so that I can move it like this. And it's basically just like a big bubble of your opponent can't end within that point. And then if they do approach and like stay outside of that range, you just move it away. And then your opponent's like 9 inches away from your screens or something like that. So it's a lot harder to play against. So that's usually what I do turn 1 if I have to go first.
Because you do have Aetherwrought Machineries as your manifestation law.
Yeah.
Is that the only one you play, or do you jump between other laws?
I tried out Twilight Sorceries, and I found that I just I didn't like. I'm never using the portal. The what was it? The Palisades. I never used that either. So it's you're essentially playing it just for Geminids. And I find that against an opponent where I could get it into them, like I kind of steamrolled them anyway, just because it's slower than the rest of my army. But against an opponent where it's like a really close game, they played around it well enough that it never came up. So yeah, I just never really got use out of it.
What do you think the ogres are going to look like? Like when they eventually get their manifestation law, whether it's a prayer law or a spell law, or maybe like Daughters of Cain, where you get a bit of both. What do you reckon their manifestation law is going to look like?
Hamburger, fries, and Coke Zero because we're on a diet. Yep. Yeah.
I was going to say probably more like American barbecuing, like, I don't know, tomahawk steak. You can have
brisket.
Brisket, mac and cheese, like a bowl of mac and cheese. Like maybe it's an incarnate of like brisket.
Yeah. Maybe they give ogres 2 manifestation lures, just like they have 2 terrain features for some reason as well, just to confuse people more. But yeah.
Us destruction players do not want options. We just want to smash. But seriously, like what do you think that they would get? Or at least what are some of the things that you think that it would do to your faction when you get one?
If I had to guess,
what do you want?
What do I want? That's tough because I mean I feel like Ogors has like a really good tool set right now. And I think maybe like a static manifestation that also acts as like a beacon of run and charge, kind of like the Butcher does, so that you're not tied to like one specific hero would be really nice. So anything that kind of like acts as a way for you to project power would be really nice. Anything that's just like collecting, sort of like the Maw Pit, like you can refill it if you kill enemies near it, like, or sort of like the Chalice from FEC.
I was thinking Chalice. Yeah. I was thinking Chalice.
Yeah, exactly. So something like that could be really interesting, where you just have like a mobile Chalice or Maw Pod or something like that that just acts as like a splash heal would make a ton of sense. Just like field snacks, essentially, would be pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different things that you could do with it. I have a feeling that when they make a new book, it's probably going to change the identity of the army a little bit, just because it changed from 3rd edition to Index a decent amount too. They got like way faster and a little bit less tough, I guess. So yeah, well, it could be anything really. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's good. It's good because you've got 2 sides, right? Like you're gonna get a big snowman or a snowball for the Beast Claw Raiders side. But then obviously, what do you do for the ogre side? And you're right. Like, what's the identity of new ogres? And it's a really interesting faction. I'm going to pull the slides off for a second. I feel like we're getting into deeper meaningful at this point. Sure. It's interesting, right? Because ogres now have some of the oldest kits in the game. You also got like the Curse of Cities of Sigmar, where you brought in these factions that don't aesthetically look right. Like you either have your BCR or your dad bods. When they're together, it doesn't look right. And how do you unite the faction, or how do you build them out so they're fully fleshed out as 2 independent forces if you had them? Because mixing and matching, it's not like Gloomspite kits where you can have trogs and squigs and thematically it all kind of looks right. Like when I think about this faction, like what would I want? Like I really like the ogre side. Like I really like the Gutbuster side. That's my preferred. If I was asking for like Beastclaw Raider side, like I want something more than that monoposed Stonehorn Thunder Tusk. Probably one of the reasons I haven't gotten into the faction is because it's so monopose. On the flip side, like give me a Mournfang hero. Like give me some cool creatures of the snow. Or some icy kind of like elemental kind of things. But then on your side, I feel like you're really missing like that centerpiece model. Like I refer to Grecius Goldtooth. I miss that model, that centerpiece, big fat ogre, being carried with all the gold and having that real centerpiece. And Ogres don't have a centerpiece if you play Gutbusters. There's no centerpiece.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of want to like steal Glutos from Slanesh and put him into an Ogres list. Like it's kind of like capturing that same vibe. I would like that a lot. Like an over tyrant or like some just like big gluttonous jerk in the center of your army, just like being a buff piece and just it would be interesting to have something like that. Because you're right. Like even when you look at my list, like from a gameplay perspective, it's not obvious like what you should be focusing on damage wise. Whereas a lot of armies tend to have these big centerpiece models, like you're saying. And just from a thematic perspective, it's really nice to see that, like an army being rallied around one thing. So, yeah.
Like it's cool. Like it's cool that you got this big wall of meat. But I think, even us as players, like we love our centerpiece models. We love our big wound hero monsters, whether it is, as you said, like a roided up, like Vengorian Lord, almost over tyrant who's, because of Aiden, it's even like, reminds me of another hero from the old world, Grom the Paunch, where he ate the trog meat and just kept getting fat and fat and fat because the gut meat was just, the trog meat was just regenerating and wouldn't be processed, and he just got fat, fat, fat. It's like, I want something like that. Give me a centerpiece. It doesn't have to be a monster centerpiece, but give me something. As you said, a Glutos, say, give me something, like, for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them kind of like rallying the army. Because you're talking about how you have these two different army identities that don't really look like they belong together. But if you look at the new Ogre kits, like, Borders kind of have that savage, like, weird mountain creature looking thing that they kind of fit a little bit more with these Claw Raiders. Even the Bloodpelt Hunter has got like some pelts and furs over him and stuff like that. I could see them rallying the Gutbuster side towards the Beast Claw Raider side in almost like a Mongolian aesthetic, which would be really cool. This is just wish listing at this point, I guess, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see that. Just like
I agree. And like upgrade the Yetis if you're going to keep them around.
Please.
And more importantly, bring back the man-eaters. Like, the coolest models in that army for me is the man-eaters. There's something about that stupid aesthetic I just love.
Yep. Ninja Ogres. Yep.
So dumb.
Yep.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Speaking of, like, why don't we have a Mournfang hero yet? It's actually a very good comment, Billy. Why don't we have a Mournfang hero yet?
I don't know. It's an easy win, I think. So,
what else? There's a couple of other questions. This is fun. I'm enjoying this. I told you we would just ditch the slides. Like, if we need them, we'll bring it up. But
yeah, exactly.
Like, We Chunk asking, what would it take to make monster trucks feel competitive again? Better saves, more damage. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think the trade-off is, so I was kind of talking about the identity of Ogres being hitting extremely hard and being extremely fast. It's kind of weird that on average foot Ogres are faster than monster trucks, because you can give monster trucks run and charge like once with a prayer. Like, one monster truck can have it, but usually you have a tidal wave of like 6 that wants to go in. And if they're moving 10 on average without run and charge, and foot Ogres are going 12 or 11 or 12 on average, like it's odd that these are outpacing like giant stone hordes. So I think that they need to reintroduce speed into the army if they want to keep them at the same level of toughness they are, or they have to bring them back to like 3rd edition levels of toughness, where maybe they've got a ward or a 3-up save or something like that, because they're a little bit too paper thin right now. It's like 15 wounds on a 4-up save is kind of not great. So,
yeah, I was having this discussion the other day with somebody where I was saying these heroes on a 4-up save compared to like Iron Jaws, for example, your more Crusher is a 3-up.
Yep.
It's a 3-up save, right? Yeah. And like the changes to all out attack and all out defense, when you're sitting on a base save of 4-up, you often will need the all-out defense, which means you can't use all-out attack. If you use all-out attack, you're obviously that punishment from going force to 5 is horrendous before Ren's even applied. But if you are on a 3, that makes that decision so much easier. And I think, and this is one of my challenges with Suns right now, and why I'm not enjoying Suns as much as I was literally like 3 months ago, is because of that decision. But the big bases means I draw in probably multiple units into combat. I can't grind it out because of this all-out attack, all-out defense rubbish. And I don't have any native bonuses really to get extra rewards or get extra saves. And I'm so heavily reliant on all-out attack, all-out defense. And I think Ogors with the BCR side are almost in the same bucket, except that you don't have the wound density that Suns have. And that's partially why, if you look at Suns lists, Suns are really dipping into like Kragnos and the big pigs.
Yeah, to get some access to that Strike Last Tech 2, especially, and just to have more models on the table. So it's, and kind of like I was saying earlier, shooting, I think if someone has like an entirely shooting army, like it's probably not going to do super well. But tons of the top performing armies right now have access to like one really solid shooting piece. And like a Bloodrack Shrine might just pick up a Stonehorn by accident. An Iron Blaster might just pick up a Stonehorn. Cities Cannons might do it. Like, there's too many things that are just lethal without being like having any sort of commitment involved. And so because of that, you're really just like suffering for not being able to take advantage of the rules that everyone else is right now.
I was just having a look at the Frostlord on Stonehorn versus a Mega Boss on Maw-Crusher. They're like the same points. Like a Maw-Crusher Mega Boss is 340. The Frostlord on Stonehorn is 330. Similar health, similar move. Obviously, there's different abilities on the scroll, but I wouldn't argue and say that one is better than the other in combat. Like, they're both relatively, they're roughly equal, but it's at 3-up versus the 4-up save, and I think that's the difference.
Yeah, it's huge for sure. I mean, I think even the Maw-Crusher is 18 wounds as well. So
yeah, it might be more health. So
yeah,
there you go. You got 3 more health and a better save.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think they even have like a similar movement shenanigan thing. So the Frostlord and Stonehorn can do the hop regardless. And I think that the Maw-Crusher needs to roll a 3-up, I think. And it gets to move, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, like they're fairly similar. The Stonehorn can be faster sometimes if a prayer applies to it. But as soon as you start dumping like battle traits in to make something better, like just doing a straight War Scroll to War Scroll comparison isn't really fair, I think. So
no, but like it just kind of shows you the difference between maybe why you're not seeing as many Frostlord on Stonehorns. Just
you're not even seeing that many Maw-Crushes. So like comparing those two isn't a huge deal anyway. Like it's not a high bar for a Frostlord to meet, and it doesn't quite meet it there. So yeah,
true. That's very true. There's a lot of pigs gone out right now. A lot of piggies. Yeah. The same thing. Piggies have 3-ups. Oh, well, sorry. The
Gougers.
The hero.
Yeah.
No, not the Gouger.
Yeah.
A couple of other quick questions from this particular person. How many Iron Blasters is too many Iron Blasters? Good question. Is one as good? Are we going to double our fun by taking 2? And why not 2?
It makes points really weird with 2. Like you'll see that my list is 1990 points. Like I'd have to probably take out a block of 6 Gluttons or something like that, or maybe Gorgers. I lose a melee hammer in order to get it. And then it's like it's like huge diminishing returns. I think the first time I came on the show, it's like going to Costco and buying 6 Costco hot dogs instead of just 1. Like it starts to, you get sick of it after a while, right? Like it's just not really, they've kind of built in a deterrent for you taking multiple. So
yeah, it's like where do you get the points from? Like, am I dropping the Gorge and Maw pack? And then what do I do with the spare points? Am I dropping both the units of Noblars? Am I unreinforcing the Iron Guts or the Gluttons? And I think in all of those scenarios, you're worse off by taking a second Iron Blaster than even the Noblars. I think I'd rather 2 units of 20 Noblars than an Iron Blaster. Second Iron Blaster. A second Iron Blaster.
Yeah, 100%.
So really interesting question actually as well is around matchups and obviously, playing at a tournament. Because as I look through, for example, Tacoma, you went first off into Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Second, you went into Lumineth Realm Lords. Third, you went into Matt Beasley's Disciples of Tzeentch. Fourth round, you went into Cities of Sigmar, went into Dylan. And then fifth and final round, you went into Leo's Nighthaunt, would be old indexed Nighthaunt, and obviously not new Battletome. So, what are the bigger challenges when playing ogres into another faction? Is there particular ones that concern you, or ones you're going to work a little harder to defeat? What have you found?
Yeah, I think if they can apply pressure in the same ways that you kind of can, that's when it becomes really scary. So Daughters of Kin is a really good example, actually, where there's a huge amount of threat saturation. Any one unit in that army can just end the game for you, because if it gets like Mind Razor in a double fight and just like it's just a preferable like slot machine worth of things going off, it can just be over. If someone can combine shooting and melee threats, that's a problem too, because all of a sudden your little trick of like Noblar screens in front, dudes behind you, burger lusting up into them, doesn't really work anymore, just because they can shoot off your screen or like cripple it and then just charge behind it like you plan on doing to them. So yeah, anyone that combines those things is really tough. Anyone that has any reason not to go anywhere near you is a problem. That's very general, but like, I mean, Tzeentch is really good at just kind of like waving their hands around and scoring the things they want to score. And with Kairos, they can get a little bit of a freebie tactics wise too, so it makes it harder to convince them to come and try to punch you or something like that. So cities too, like just because they usually have cannons or shooting in combination with cavaliers, those are usually what makes it really difficult.
Is that what Dylan was running? I haven't bring up his list now. What was Dylan running?
He wasn't running cannons. No, he was running his steam tank fusiliers. I guess he had fusiliers, so he had shooting. But
he had 3. It's a command corp, though. Obviously different to cannons, but man, they are tanky as they are so tanky.
Yes. Yep.
Carlson Toll. Yep. Fusiliers. Yeah. Okay. All right. Cavaliers as well. The Knights. Yeah. Okay. What was your hardest matchup at Tacoma? Like person aside, like all great opponents, and I can see you played some top talent. What was the list or the archetype that was the hardest to play at?
Probably cities, I think, just because they can be really non-committal with their teleport back in your turn kind of thing. Like they can just harass you, send a couple units up, and then just zoop all the way back, and you're like, okay, that sucks. But so that's really difficult to deal with. I was surprised. I guess it's not relevant anymore because they completely changed the identity of the book, but Nighthaunt had a crazy amount of just crazy damage, like a ridiculous amount of damage, to be honest. Like I had a full strength unit of Gluttons on a 5-up ward, and Bladegeist just gone. Like I was like, oh my god, like horrifying. So that was scary in that regard. But I think, yeah, probably the hardest matchup was against Dylan. That was only a minor win as well. I think I won by 4 points. But,
you scored 54 and he had scored 50. So when you look at the rounds, round 1, you won 80 to 25 again into OBR. Round 2, you won 75 to 35 into LRL. Game 3, you won 62 to 52. So that was a really tight game with Matt Beasley's Disciples of Tzeentch. How was that game?
That was really tight as well. It was big back and forth for sure. I think it was just one where I was able to bully him on the battle plan a little bit better than he was. So it kind of unfolded the last turn, essentially. It's just one of those things where I think we were tied going into round 5 or something like that, and then I just quickly jumped ahead at the very end. So Yeah.
And I can see he had the Scourge of Gairan Ogoroid Thermitage that
Two of them.
Oh yeah, 2. Yes, I can see. Oh, very nice.
Those things are so annoying to play against because it's just
Lots of
Jade at any time.
A lot
Jade
of
looks
chat.
really interesting. Yep.
Yes, he's got the Chaos Spawn, which I assume is for the spell.
Spawn,
and then you got some 3 units of Jade Obelisks.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Regiment of Renown. Oh, brought in a Slaves Regiment of Renown.
Yeah, just to get some staying power, a little bit of just an extra hammer with the knights kind of thing. So yeah, it was a neat list. I think it would. Beasley's obviously one of those players that's just on a different level. He's extremely intelligent and in the way he plays and his list building. So it's not easy to see exactly what a list is going to do until he starts using every piece of it. Like I've seen him in games where he looks like he's almost tabled and then like it's turn 2 and he just goes, yeah, I'm just going to slowly table my opponent and probably win by 4 or something like that. And that's exactly what happens. You're like, okay, like sounds good. So yeah, no, that was a really great game.
I am seeing more Regiments of Renown crossover, which has been great. Obviously, I played my first opponent had the Demon Prince in the Nurgle and getting the benefits of the faction and the Charged Mortals. That's such a good little tech, but you're seeing way more Regiments of Renown crossing over. And partially probably as well because, as you've said, like taking that extra drop isn't as punishing as it used to be, where that was a real decision point. And that's why you only had certain things like Callous and Toll and certain ones that became like the auto includes.
Yeah, and Tzeentch doesn't have access to anything that can be on a 2-up save. So all of a sudden, you just have a tankiness in your army that someone might not be able to deal with, right? So it's an extra tool that just fills a gap that your army might have. So
yeah, the tankiness used to come from the pink horrors, but this been pointed to oblivion. Couple more questions. I always enjoy this chat with you, mate. I can come on forever. And by the way, if people are enjoying this chat and they want to hear more from you, where can they find you?
Saga of Dice. Wow. Depending on your time zone, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. PST, we do a little podcast. And I also attend basically every tournament by region. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest, feel free to come say hi. I'll probably give you some dice. Yeah. Or the Team Canada server as well. I'm active in there too. So yeah.
And my server.
And your server. And Portugal.
You legitimately are. Like Henry. You legitimately are. Oh, you're so funny. All right, a couple of other burning questions, and we'll kind of start bringing this towards the end. I think. What battle plans did you play at Tacoma? I vaguely saw the pack. Do you remember what you were playing into?
I remember my last 3 matches, the battle plans that those were on. I know into Matt Beasley it was Surge of Slaughter. I know into Dylan it was Life Cycle, or that's the one where you have to pick a primary on turn 2 and then it kind of goes around the table.
Oh yeah, I played that round 5 in my last game. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it's got like the most complicated set of you have to read like a dictionary to figure out exactly how to score in a given turn. It's kind of weird. And then against Leo, it was Grasping Thorns, which him failing to 3-up Grasping Thorn, one of my units, probably won me that game. So being fully transparent about that was definitely a big thing there. And then I think against Levi, that was the Roiling Roots, I want to say, maybe. I don't know. And I don't remember the first battle plan, to be honest.
It's all right. It's literally game 1. Sometimes you forget your opponent's name. Just so much goes on. While we're talking about battle plans, though, one thing we didn't talk about is how more, I don't want to say punishing because it's not actually quite true. The twists that are on the battle plans are way more interesting, different, challenging, game-changing. Like there's a lot of complexity in that. How does that play out for you? Is that something that you will try to score under in your first battle round to try to go underdog and control the benefit? Is it something that there are particular battle plans you hunt for the benefit? Like, how do you think about the twists and underdog mechanic in this season?
Yeah, some battle plans I think you can just safely ignore, or sometimes you're not even ignoring. You're not even trying to be the underdog for the purposes of like the battle plan, but it might be because your opponent has wrathful cycles, or it might be because you don't want them to have an extra CP. And the nice thing is that with access to like movement shenanigans and stuff, you almost get to decide like how far under you are a lot of the time, just by like stealing an objective with the Blood Belt Hunter or something like that. There's a couple battle plans where it's pivotal for sure. Like life cycle, you want to be able to be the one that decides where the primary is. Grasping Thorns is horrifying if you're not the underdog and you have anything on any objectives. It's really bad. And then Pass of the Fae is another one too, where you have to be extremely careful. Just because they've got that like weird teleport one where you have to like cram all of your models around one objective. But yeah, what do you think? Is there any specific battle plans that make you play different ways? Or intentions of wonder?
I feel like it's more my battle tactics than the battle plans, to be honest. And maybe it's because I'm the idiot that picks the strike that has you need to be underdog to is it Wrathful Cycles that requires you like. So for me, it's usually like not doing that because I want to make sure I'm underdog to score my second. But I found it more of a deterrent for someone because I often find most people give me the first turn. I don't know if it's because of even like when I played Suns, I find most people give me first because I usually have higher drops. I don't play the 1 or 2 drop game. I just land where I land, whether it's 3, 4, or 5. So people normally give me first, which is often where even in the last General's Handbook, I'd always have to do seize the center. This particular one, I'll do Scouting Force or Wrathful Cycles to have more objectives than my opponent, or have 3 idiots outside of friendly territory, which 90% of my army are all Scouting Force anyway. I found if I score 20, I often will not be underdog, which then screws me for the second set for Wrathful Cycle. So often I'll only score 1 of my 2 battle tactics, or I accept that the only battle tactics I'm now going to score is going to be Scouting Force, unless I get doubled, because I'll just have such a lead that I'll never become underdog outside of being doubled. But then the battle plan, you're right, I don't think I play for it very often. And there's only a few scenarios, whether it's the battle plan or my opponent matchup, where I'll want it. But yeah, no, I probably similar to you upon reflection.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time it depends on your opponent, for sure. Because like the nice thing is that if you get a really big points lead, because you don't have to score battle tactics every turn, that allows you to kind of just sit back and be like, I'm just going to sit here and slowly win the game, essentially. Mm-hmm. And if you're, 10, 15 points ahead of your opponent, that means that they have to overextend into you in order to change the result of the game. So it's not a bad thing to go up really high, really early, I think, for that reason, or even mid-game.
Yeah. I'm more of a slower pace kind of player, and this is probably where Daughters of Cain, even my old sons, and Gits, I don't like overextending in the first round or 2. I'm happy to kind of slowly go for those uninteractive ones, seize the center, take the flanks, have more objectives with my opponent, slowly build up to that particular battle, and then kind of unleash. And Daughters of Cain, for example, plays in that, where most people were really aggressive at me turn 1, turn 2, when really I just want to be turn 3 onwards. And some of the battle tactics, either you're right, I score them early and put my chips on the table, or I hold back, don't score a lot, and then go Super Saiyan from bottom of turn 2 or early turn 3. But then in some other armies, I want to go hard early because I don't have the grind for the full 5.
Yeah, I find that I'm constantly giving the extremely boring answer of it depends for a lot of things this GHP, which is a good thing, just because if there isn't one correct choice all the time, then it's a much more interesting game. So
yeah, that was exactly been my point too. Is that it doesn't feel like we have different games unfolding, and I think there's still a great opportunity that I'm not seeing enough players playing the counter game where in the last GHB or even GHBs before that, because we're only on, a set number of battle tactics, you would purposely try to stop your opponent from scoring the battle tactic. Right now, we're probably so focused on scoring our own that a lot of players aren't even thinking about how do I deny my opponent from scoring them.
Yeah.
It's just if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's not something people are really conscious about doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Alrighty, a couple final ones from Discord, and then we'll kind of bring it home. I think you and I can just talk forever. And this has been wild. This is very off the cuff kind of conversation. I hope you guys have been enjoying this. This is a little different, a little off the cuff meat. By the way, I am cooking. What meat am I cooking right now? I am cooking dinner a little bit later. I've got some brisket cooking. I actually have chicken wings I'm going to be cooking. I actually am making American barbecue, which goes back to why I talked about manifestations being American barbecue, because that is literally what I'm cooking right now. But speaking of food and deliciousness, Raspberry Stew saying, from an ogre's perspective, what race do you think would taste the best?
Ooh, I thought about this a lot. I saw this question and it made me think. Many showers this week, just thinking about this. And I think that the answer is probably KO. Just because the reason why, just hear me out, okay? It's a texture thing. A texture is really important for good taste, and it's crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside, right? Same reason why Iron Jaws also really good. Crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside, a little bit of that umami fungal flavor. Both of those would be really good, I think. But I think KO probably takes the cake because it's like a little poplar, right? It's like a lot of pressure to bite through the armor, and then just like you get that crunch, satisfying.
Okay. All right.
What do you think?
I'm just reminding myself of all the factions, and look, I think like Deepkin. I think Deepkin would be solid, especially if you're someone who'd
be good.
Yeah. I think that would be delicious. I think Seraphon could be good.
Yeah, I've heard alligator tastes like chicken, so why not, right?
I reckon bonus, the secret sauce might be Sylvaneth. I reckon there might be something in Sylvaneth that, yes, there is like the wood. Yes, there is the wood, but like when we move away from wood, whether it's like your Revenant Seekers, whether it might be, like a Spite Rev, or like there's some flesh. I don't know. I reckon it could be like, might be something in there.
I could see that. Yeah.
They'd be eating berries and stuff, right? Like surely like they'd be eating some good things.
Yeah. And then Drycha is like a little bit of honey, be pretty good.
See, they'd be eating honey and berries and like drinking like delicious flavored waters. They're doing all right.
But something that's like the appetizer, I think. They're like a bamboo shoots with vinaigrette, even though that probably doesn't work whatsoever. But
yeah, they're a snack. They're like a jerky snack. They're not like there's not a main meal. Yeah, I'm with you. Although I reckon squigs might be all right. Like squigs and trogs, they might go okay. All right, 2 final questions. One is a serious one. One is a bit of a piss take, but it's still a serious question. So Trey saying, what's the best route for a Spearhead Box army from the first box Iron Guts? What is the best route from Spearhead Box army, the first box Iron Guts, or Stone Horns, and how much of an auto take is the pot pit, and who is the best cooking SP? Or there's a lot of questions in that.
Yeah, there's like 6 questions in this one question.
Let's just start with, I think that the easiest one is like if I had the Spearhead Box. What is the Spearhead Box? Let me quickly Google that, unless you remember.
Right now, it's like, it's the Underworld's Warband, what is his name? Hrothgorn's Man Trappers, I think. And then
the new one. Because sorry, let's go to the old one, because I reckon a lot of people think of the old one, because you got the Iron Blaster, the Mornfang Cav, you've got some Gluttons, you've got your who's the big guy with the Tyrant?
Yep.
And then you got the Iron what are they called? The shooty idiots. Lead Belchers, that's it.
Yeah. So I think what you can do is, if you have that spearhead, build the Iron Blaster, because it's really good right now. Build the 6 Gluttons, because they're really solid. They're really good core to your army. Don't build the Lead Belchers as Lead Belchers. One trick about Ogres is that all of the Foot Ogres actually have the exact same body, and all of the shoulders swap out like easily. Anything can be swapped out to anything else. So what you can do is you can take, there used to be 2 kits on the Mornfang. Like 2 different weapon options. You had the Gargan Hackers and like the clubs and whatever. You can still build the Mornfang with the clubs, but if you put the Gargan Hackers on the Lead Belcher's shoulders, all of a sudden you have 2-handed weapon guys that can be Iron Guts. So now this box isn't, because Lead Belchers are terrible. Like, maybe one of the worst units in the book, I think. But if you take those, if you basically convert them to Iron Guts, you instead get an Iron Blaster, 4 Iron Guts, and 6 Gluttons as like the core of your army, which is like really, really good. You could even buy a second Spearhead, do the same conversion, and then you've got a 12-pack of Gluttons and a 8-pack of Iron Guts. And then every Foot Ogre kit also comes with little like Noblar tokens with it. And I think you can make like 12 or something like that, so that you can, it's kind of crazy. Like, you get a ton of extra bits. So that's probably where I would go from there. And then after that, you can probably keep buying like just more Gluttons kits or something like that. You can really easily convert Gluttons into a Butcher if you don't want to buy Finecast or something like that, or a Slaughtermaster if you want to kind of kit bash something up. So that's probably where I would go from there.
And then the new one, is it the Scrap Glut, is what? A Scrap Launcher, is that...
it's a dual kit with an Iron Blaster, so you can be billed as either.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking at the picture of what they've actually got on there. You've got 8 Iron Guts? Is it 8 Iron Guts in the? And then you've got the Hawthorn Trappers and some Noblars.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like 12 Noblars, which is an illegal unit size. So I probably wouldn't pick that box up, to be honest. Like, I think the old one is much better value. But I mean, with the new one, I think you can still, you get 8 Iron Guts, which is really usable. Hrothgorn can be used as Blood Pelt Hunter, I guess. I think a different size.
I was just looking to see if, because like a lot of the battle tomes have brought back like an Underworld's warband. Like, you got the Storm Covenant in Stormcast, the Plague Priest warband in Skaven. You've had these, and I was like, oh, is Hawthorn back? And the answer is no. Like, as I look through the app, like, oh, so that's, you could grab it, but yeah, you'd have to use it as a Blood Pelt Hunter. And to your point,
probably an Ice Brow, honestly, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an awkward box to jump off from, I think. The Gluttons kit is always like a really solid option, just because, like I said, you can swap out the shoulders of any Foot Ogres with any other shoulders, from like even the mounted Ogres have like compatible shoulders, which is kind of neat. So if you pick up a Stonehorn kit, you can give one like a bird or a crossbow or something like that. So there's a lot of kit bashing opportunities with Ogres. Most of the stuff is compatible with each other.
Yeah, that's cool. No, that's cool. I like that a lot. Yeah. By the way, I'm just re-looking at your War Scrolls. The Firebelly, I love the Firebelly. I remember in first edition where on Warhammer, like the store, it would have its own sub-faction, because back in the day they were all sub-factions, and Firebelly was one sub-faction with one unit. I always dreamed, even in first edition, that the Firebellies would get grown out. Never did. 4 editions later, maybe 5th edition, we'll get Firebelly. I don't know. There's something cool about it. I really like it. I don't know why. It's just something about the Firebelly specifically.
It holds up really well. It's a really nice model.
Is it Finecast?
Yes. Yeah.
No. Is it still Finecast?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Oh, so either it's getting a new sculpt or it's dead when you get your book.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Ogors, because like you said, they're like one of the oldest lines right now. So I could see them getting a pretty big overhaul if they're going to be getting something.
It's probably the oldest. Like, was the Glutton's 7th edition?
I have no idea.
I
haven't
want
played
to
Fantasy,
say,
so I'm not sure.
I want to say 7th edition. I want to say I'm going to say they're quite old. So possibly the oldest range. So I'm going to say Ogres are now the oldest range. That Skaven's had a bunch of updates. I'm sure as soon as I log off, I'll remember something else. All right, final question. Yeah, like I'm not counting that. Like the gutter runner, the Eshin. I don't know how Eshin survived, but yes, gutter runners, and what's the other version of the Ninja Rats? Night Runners.
Yeah.
Night Runners and Gutter Runners. They were 6th edition, and then after that, I'm pretty sure you're some of the oldest kits. So, Fabian saying, how does it feel to have brought both the most underrated and the best Ogre Mawtribes list to AoS Worlds earlier this year?
Good. I feel like this is a very loaded question. Like it's good. Yes. Question mark. Yeah. At Worlds earlier this year, I was the only Foot Ogres list. And I just brought like 36 Gluttons and 60 Noblars. Like it wasn't anything super crazy, but it did feel good being in a position of like no one's practicing against that list because it was the only one of its kind. And it served us really well. Like, I mean, against some of our toughest matches, like against like France, it got us a 17-3, which was really good. Like, you know, any of those like weird but still powerful lists, like Jake Seguin was bringing like a really Dark Rider heavy cities list that kind of served a similar purpose that was catching people off guard. It's like, if you don't know how to pair against it, then it can expose vulnerabilities for teams. So yeah, no, it was good. Fabian like helped me build it because I posted like a meme version of it first, and Fabian helps with Team Canada and he's been involved for quite a while. But I think I posted like a joke thing. I was like, haha, guys, look at this. He's like, wait a minute, do this instead. Like just kind of like slowly tweaking it, and it ended up being what it became then. So yeah, shout out to him.
And there's some real, shout out to Fabian, good people. But it goes back to what we were saying earlier about list building. Like, just because it's not the latest hotness doesn't mean it's bad. And catching people off guard, not as gotchas, but actually like, oh, Dark Riders? Why have you got Dark Riders? Like, even as I said to you, I was playing that Seraphon opponent and they had a unit of Ripidactyls and there was a unit of Pterodons. There was like 2 different units. I'm like, why do you have this? And it could have been easy for me to just ignore them. Like, I haven't seen Pterodons forever. They're just a unit of 3 idiots. I'll just ignore them and I'll go focus on the Slan and the Agrodons. But actually, the secret source was coming in from the Raptidons and, having the Hunters of Hawachi. And there's all these cool things. It's like, oh, actually, step back and how do I actually unpack this? And I think that's why I love your list is actually there is no blinding, obvious, this is what I have to kill. And the list is, like you see the Zinch list. Cool. Take out Kairos. Take out the Great Unclean One. Take out, there's these critical, like Krondus is sitting there. Cool. Go take out Krondus. Stop the magic power. The army starts to crumble. Yours, other than like the Iron Guts and then maybe even the Gluttons, it's like, what do I focus on?
Yeah. And even if you kill the big hammers, the rest of the army can just like scatter and score things pretty well. So yeah, and I do want to touch on as well. You were saying it's not gotchas. In fact, before every game, I always explain very explicitly to my opponent, like, this is what I'm going to do to you if you interact with it in this way, and this is exactly what I can do. And I think that if you win because of a gotcha or like because your opponent didn't know something and they just made a clear, obvious mistake, you actually didn't really win that game. You just kind of knowledge check someone. So it's important to make sure that your opponent's aware of what you can do. What I like to do is just make them think. It's like, here's all of the different variables. Here's all the different things that can happen. What are you going to do with this information? And then it's usually a mistake or like something not quite optimal.
Yeah, I want to be really clear. And that's why I keep saying it, because it's not that when you're using Dark Riders, for example, it's not like you take advantage of Dark Riders and then at the end, like, oh, surprise, this is what you should have known, and you got caught out. No, it's actually this really random, unique unit that no one's really running. So you don't have a lot of experience against it. You don't quite know its full potential. You don't quite know what they're going to do with that particular unit. And it's those questions and decisions that you get to exploit because they either ignore it because no one has it in city, so I'll just ignore it and I'll focus on the Pope or whatever unit it might be. Or they go try to solve that problem and then you get to capitalize by using your other toys. So why I keep referring to this I gotcha piece, because it's not about catching your opponent out and, throwing a blanket over them because you got rules that they don't aware of.
Yeah, exactly.
Carson, I've always enjoyed chats with you. Will I see you? Hopefully, see you at an event. I don't know what event. Soon.
Hopefully soon.
I was going to go to Canada a few months ago, and then things changed. I would have loved to be in Edmonton. That was. I've had 2 Canada trips now cancel on me, so I'll get there 3rd time's a charm.
Soon. Yeah, I'm hoping to make it down to Australia sometime soon. That'd be cool.
Come. Maybe we'll meet in the middle of like Old Town Throwdown or something.
Yeah, that's definitely in the middle for sure. 3-hour flight for me. What, like 13, 15 for you?
Yeah, I think it's 13 hours plus like the 2 hours of traffic to get out of LAX.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, 13.
That's roughly the middle. Yeah, for sure.
Give or take.
Yeah.
So that we just talked about it. If you want to hear more from Carson, Saga of Dice, go check it out. You guys have a lot of fun. It's good off the cuff. Always love jumping in and throwing Rob off occasionally. Here's a panda to me in the chat. I'm like, don't just keep talking.
Yeah. You get started.
Stop referring to me.
Yeah.
Any shout outs? Anyone you want to talk to? Any final things as well about Ogors before we wrap it up?
Oh God, I hadn't thought about shoutouts. Nope, no big shoutouts. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to subscribe and like if you haven't already. I'm gonna do your outro for you. Join the Discord. Okay. Hit that bell icon, I
don't even do that.
Consider subscribing for the real, like the money subscribing. Do you have that? I don't know.
All right, final question. All right, I'm gonna don't pander to my audience. All right, last question. Battletome comes out whenever. What's the one unit, troop, monster, whatever? Like when I say unit, I mean like War Scroll. What's the one new model or models you get? What's your wish list?
One new model.
Yeah.
Oh, we need new foot hero wizards so bad. Like the Firebelly, the Butcher, the Slaughtermaster, all fine cast. Like there's something so cool you could do with those things. I think you could make the Slaughtermaster the new centerpiece. Probably make like a big pot that he's just lugging around to resculpt. So I'd probably choose a Slaughtermaster, I think. Yeah.
He's a funny model, the Slaughtermaster.
He's really goofy. Yeah.
He's so goofy. He's so goofy. It's there's so much potential. Like when I look at, like, I'm not even talking about replacing, right? Like, as you said, the Firebelly, the Man Eaters, the Yetis, the Slaughtermaster. There's a lot of like even just replacement. By the way, I'm so glad the Frost Sabers got replaced from resin. I really like Frost Sabers.
Did they? I don't think they did.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of the Hawthgorn.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of that Underworlds because that's what I did. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go buy Hawthorn because you get the new models. But then, yes, it's.
You only get one as well. It's units of
Really what?
Yeah.
Oh, there's 2 in there.
Yeah, you could buy 2. I'm sure GW would like that. If you buy 2 Underworlds kits per Frost Sabers unit you have, yeah, that sounds like a great deal for them.
Why don't I go buy a whole bunch of Icefall Yetis as well? I'll make a whole army of Yetis.
Yep.
All right, you got a lot of opportunity. I want Grecius. I want a Grecius type of model.
I think the Slaughtermaster could become that, to be honest. Just like a big buff piece, like mobile kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know, there's something in there. The Slaughtermaster's resin as well, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah, all right. There's a big release coming. There has to be a big refresh.
I hope so.
This has to be a big refresh. This has to be a big refresh.
Yeah, which selfishly, like, I'm a little bit daunted by just because I'm gonna have to repaint like everything. Because, yeah, I think the only things that they probably won't refresh are like Beast Claw Raiders stuff. Like, I don't think they would do the Stonehorn or the Thunder Tusk. Those look fine enough. Like, even the Mournfang are fine. But I've got like 40 foot ogres painted or something to paint that up again would be a lot. I kind of hope they go to the scale of Gorgers where it's like units of 5, but they're bigger and chunkier and you don't have to bring as many of them. Like, that'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. That indeed actually would be really cool. I was going to say, hopefully it's more like the Soul Blight where, Graveguard become Barrow Guard. And you know what? If people just ran their Graveguard, no one would care. It's the same scale, same size. It's just a preference. But obviously the new models are nicer. But yeah, the Gorges, I really like the Gorges. And if they draw more inspiration from the Gorges, yeah, that wouldn't be bad, actually. That wouldn't be too bad. All right, we're going down a rabbit hole. Carson, you're incredible. Always enjoy talking to you. Like and subscribe. Go check out Saga of Dice, and we will talk again soon. I think we're just going to go down a rabbit hole and talk about things, and then we'll be talking about those Canada cookies, the maple cookies. They're delicious, and then we'll just keep going down random things, and that can be an after-hour show. All right, peace out. Bye. Stop this. Bye. Where's my stop button? There. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AoS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a 1-1 on a spellcast.